What's up, brother?
Oh, yeah.
How you doing, man?
I feel like I could be one of those, how you just, oh, yeah. I just feel like I could. Woo.
Game time.
Woo, woo.
Game time.
Did you get the recording I sent you?
Yeah, mate.
Yes.
I got all of it. Got everything. Mate, I'm really excited for this.
I'm off tap. I'm ready.
Ready to bloody rumble. Mate, it's gonna be a crack one. I'm trying a new format today, or not even a new format, a new environment. It's bloody cold here. Today's been such a weird day of weather, right? We started out overcast, it was freezing, and then it was like a lovely day where no wind, no clouds in the sky. And I was sitting on the balcony reading a book, waiting for a client to rock up before, just getting some sun. And after I finished with this client, I had 30 minutes between then and now. And I was like, I'll just go do some reading about, some addiction stuff and all that sort of stuff. And the wind's picked up and it's blowing a gale and cold. So I've turned the heater on. I'm doing the podcast with the heater on. It could bite me in the ass and get too hot in here. But
you're just going to start getting flustered.
You're going to, it's going to be very, very interesting, mate. But nonetheless, how's your day going?
Yeah, it's good. I had a client early this morning, which lasted 2.5 hours, because some of the sessions that I do with clients, they pay one set fee per month, right? So I won't disclose the price. I'll disclose it to you privately. Yeah. So
everyone listening's like, tell us that number, please.
So they pay one set fee per month.
Yep.
And those sessions are, the standard session is an hour and a half a week. But if the session's really powerful, like I don't book my next client for like another hour and a half after that.
Yep.
So if they need to extend, like I just let them talk, because that's obviously one of the areas that I like letting them unload, because it's not specifically NLP. There's no real process to it. But if I hear some stuff come up, like we'll question it and work through that, and then obviously go for a breakthrough according to what they're feeling. But yeah, she just wanted to talk, and mate, it was really like, I want everybody in the audience to know, like, I don't know whether you're going to use this part, but this is just good to have it.
We're using all of this.
Fuck yeah. So the best thing that I want everybody to understand is like PTSD, like, and this is through my own knowledge, research, and my own belief, is that it's post-traumatic stress. Fuck the D off. The stress is a cortisol response in the body, and we need it. And the trauma could be a fucking conversation you had that triggered you when you were 3. I want everyone to understand the depth of what I just said. It doesn't have to be continuous. It could be one event in your life that fucked you up.
Yeah. And more often than not, it is exactly that. And yep. I think it's, yeah, even I've always thought about that. And I think one of the most challenging conversations to have around mental illnesses or even mental health is because often, for example, we could have a discussion about PTSD, or let's call it PTS, right? Let's fuck the D off, as you said, or anxiety or depression. And yep. Often people hear what they want to hear, right? Yep. They don't ever go looking for more context around where that beliefs come from or where that opinions come from. And that's what often triggers a lot of people. People choose to be triggered by. Like, I have very strong beliefs around how I handle my own mental health, right? And with depression and with anxiety, and suicidal ideations, which I've had all of those in the past and still deal with. Now, I don't know where you stand on this, PJ, but because I empathize and have compassion for people who don't yet have the awareness to go looking for context, I don't want to trigger those people, especially obviously when you're fucking with mental health. So while I have my stance on when medication should be used, when this should be used, when that should be used, I don't go standing on the top of my balcony going, listen here, fuckers. If you're going to use this, you should look at this. Like I am a big believer in, obviously what's working well for me is working really well. And I will always talk to people one-on-one about that, but at least then I can explain context and get more of an idea of what's going on in their life. So I think from that blanket format on podcasts and even my content, I find it, I feel nervous when I go to talk about it, because I'm like, here we go. I'm going to get a million messages here and people are going to never ask my context and I don't want to have to explain to everyone. So that's why, obviously the benefit of podcasts is we can have long form discussions around it and probably provide a bit more. But why did you decide to get rid of the D on the PTSD? Why do you think?
Like my understanding about like a disorder, is it a disorder? I feel as if it's a lack of understanding where the emotional pattern starts from. It's an event that happened in the past, right? That's why it's called like it's a post traumatic event. So it's a past experience. You and I both know this because of our NLP, right? Or the learnings that we've now done, right? But when that event happened back there, you don't remember memories, you remember emotions that are attached to the memory. So when you feel that way again, when you get that sensation inside you, when you get that emotion and you just go, I feel angry again right now, right? That event started back there. You've held on to the emotion, it's stacked on top of it. And then what happens right now is you start to get those feelings.
Bless you.
You start to get those feelings, right? And those feelings are based on past experiences. You and I both know this, and you've probably spoken to your audience about this.
Yeah.
Why I dropped the D is because that's not a disorder. I feel as if and I have studied the DSM-5, which is the mental health. It's the DSM-5 is the Diagnostic Systems Manual, which is it's a tool that's used by psychiatrists and psychologists that has a list of terminology and the labels that are connected to the symptoms and the signs and all that jargon, right? And the disorder, it's kind of like, but it's not a disorder. Everyone has these, everyone goes through them. So that's why I believe I dropped the D.
Nice. I like it. And it's also like how we identify with things. People love to hold on to things as like a security blanket. If I have this disorder, or if I, one that I hear a lot of people really attaching themselves to at the moment, especially with a lot of people that I talk to, is ADHD, right? Because of my ADHD this, because of my ADHD that. And I'm like, well, ADHD may be an extension of yourself. Like it's something that you experience, and how you experience it may be completely different to someone without, how you experience life and how your brain functions. But if you keep allowing that to define you and, be that excuse or that blanket as to why you can't do this or why you can't do that, you're never even going to attempt to try and do that. You're just going to go, fucking nah, I can't do that. That's like me saying I can never drive because, one eye doesn't work, even though that's not the case. But like that would be that.
Yeah.
Well, I've got another eye, and there's plenty of people who are doing it. There's plenty of people with worse sight than me who are driving. Yep. We're limited by what we want to see in front of us. And I think the most powerful thing, which we'll get into shortly, I know we will, but is changing our limiting beliefs and realizing that we have more potential. And I think one of the things that you love talking about is obviously unleashing the beast and having such a powerful life, right? Like just living the ultimate life. But take us through it anyway, PJ. I'll for those who are tuned in anyway, this is a little segue. I will fancy this up. So if you are tuning into this at some point, you would have already heard the intro. You would have got a great introduction to PJ. He is one of Australia's leading addiction education service providers, and you're an incredible leadership coach. And you're also the host of Boy Behind the Man podcast, which is a ripper podcast. If you haven't checked it out, it's available on on all platforms as well. And I think depending on when you're listening to this, I'm on one of the recent episodes, so jump on over there and get into it. But PJ, we got so much to talk about, man. There's things I want to dive into around addiction, and because one of the questions I have for you off the back, or the direction I'd love to have a yarn about, is, there's people who have the all or nothing mindset, and people go, no, I'm all or nothing. And I used to say that, and I still do catch myself saying that I'm all or nothing. And for me, when I think about addiction and everything, or people go, I have an addictive personality. And I was reading about the 4 stages of addiction. And the one of them that stood out to me was just tolerance, like dependence and tolerance, right? And for me, I was thinking, well, maybe a lot of people who have that all or nothing mindset are just people who are prepared to tolerate shit, right? They're comfortable to tolerate that they don't have boundaries, they don't have discipline that they need. But from your experience, obviously around addiction, like first and foremost, what made you interested in it?
Lockie, amazing question, because obviously that's now just going to open up straight away to my own addiction and why I really wanted to understand it. So if I just backtrack to the name, one of the names of the businesses is Addicted to Grow. Understanding that these addictions that we have can be transferred, or addictive habits can be transferred into growth habits instead. And why I want to separate this really quickly is because there's healthy coping mechanisms versus unhealthy coping mechanisms. So instead of talking them about an addiction in this moment, you create coping mechanisms. They can be defensive, they can be healthy, they can be unhealthy. Why I wanted to understand it. It wasn't until probably about 3 years ago that I really started to question my own integrity around what is an addiction, because I created the business name back in 2000 when I was working for Telstra or Telecom, and I loved like cell phones because they were new, and I just loved all the cool phones that were coming out, especially the 5110.
Remember the 3315 with Snake?
Yep.
Oh man, I used to fucking burn through Snake. Loved it.
And then there was Snake 2. Like, that was just an evolution, right?
Oh mate, that's one game that I just really appreciated about the old school technology. That was just simple, but just so fun.
Yep. Yeah. We could segue another direction now. So like when I was working at Telecom, I really loved, cell phones and like how they could benefit society. I was like, these are really cool. Like, this is a phone. It's a mobile phone. So the first business name that I came up with, because I'd been working for McDonald's way back when I was 14 and 9 months. But when I turned 18, I started to work for Telstra. And what I remember clearly is that I started to really love cell phones and mobile phones. And the cell phone part came from my overseas cousins, Filipinos, because they call them cell phones over there, like Americans. And I created this business name called Addicted to Sell, as in addicted to cell phones and addicted to selling, because I actually love the process, taking someone from here to here. And it was just like, well, I didn't make you buy it. Like, I just showed you all the cool stuff, like using my energy and my animation. And they literally like, yeah, I can see the benefit. Like, my wife can call me whenever she wanted. And I was like, it may not be what I'm trying to sell or sell this to you. So the point that I'm trying to make is like Addicted to Sell, right? That was the first business name. Now, before I hit buy, I was like, nah, it doesn't ring a bell. Like, I like fixing them. And I ended up learning how to fix mobile phones. That was another business that I had like on the side. So I could, I'd love this entrepreneurial journey. And then I obviously started to get into the gym and started to do gym work. And I was just like, I love the idea of like just, growing muscle. And I think there's an old thing. I don't know if it's Terry Crews or it's like the big gym, like the big buff unit. It's like, what's his name, where he talks to his muscles and he's like, grow, motherfucker, like that guy. Yeah, you know it.
Yeah. It's not Mr. T, is it?
Nah, but that guy, you know it, you know him, right? And I just remember watching that and I was just like, yeah, like I felt like that in the gym sometimes. So at first, Addicted to Grow was about growing muscle and growing stronger, because I started off doing bodybuilding when I was like about 19, 20. And then I got into powerlifting and so on. So this whole idea that became like why I wanted to understand addictions is because obviously the underlying effect that was happening in my life was at the age of 10, I remember like walking in on my dad watching adult movies. And there's got to be a little bit of context here so you can understand.
Like when you say adult movies, you don't just mean M15 plus, do you?
No, I mean X-rated, RRRXXX, fucking porn, the whole deal.
Yeah. Yeah. Whiz
the
bang.
whole deal. Like I had no idea though, right? Because his words were naughty adult movies. And I guess this is where I'm going to educate the audience on my own addiction and what happened. So I just remember that I couldn't spend very much time with my dad. He used to work shift work, an amazing father. He always provided, and I can see that now, but I didn't understand that he had to work so much. It was 12-hour shifts. They were shift work. So it was like afternoon shift one week, night shift another, and then day shift another. So when I saw him, it was very limited time. And if he was home, sometimes he was sleeping. So therefore we had to be quiet. My sister and I couldn't make loud noises. And that was hard for me because I just loved being loud and playing and doing crazy stuff. And, when I got in trouble, I used to be called like a naughty boy, because that's what your parents did when back in the 80s and 90s. They didn't care for this language that we talk about now. It was just like, oh, stop being naughty, PJ. And that was just ringing throughout my ears. Now, I remember this time when Dad would get home, he would spend hours in front of the TV, and I was like, what's going on? And one of them was soccer. And the other one I worked out was porn, or was adult movies. And I don't know whether he did anything to himself, but it was just like, it was his association. I don't know if it was downtime. He also worked in a mine. His duffel bag had magazines in it, left, right, and center. I remember to this day that we've had Penthouse and Playboy magazines even just on our table, because when I used to flick through them, like I didn't see anything out of the ordinary. Like it was just like Penthouse back then and Playboy back then. It had male and females in it.
Yep.
And it even reviewed cars and cigarettes. And like, I remember this, right? So in this moment, I just remember, okay, so Dad's always watching TV, and it was soccer. So that's why I love to play soccer, because I thought I might get attention off him if I was playing soccer, because he loved watching soccer. And that was a very big influence on me, because he loved playing it himself. And this one night, I just remember walking past the TV, because I was just like, what's he watching? And I just remember like looking at the TV when I walked past, and in that moment, he was like, it was just soccer. And he was just like, what are you doing, son? And I was just like, oh, I'm just going to the toilet. So anyway, I sort of went around the corner, and I made it out as if I went to the toilet. I shut the door, but I was still standing outside the door. And then next minute I heard the TV play again, and I could hear it was like, like people, adults talking. And I was just like, that's weird. Like, so I peeked around the corner, and I was just, my reaction was what stopped him, because I was kind of like, like, you know what I mean? Like he heard that.
Yeah.
Then he paused it, and I sort of just like walked out and was just like, and then he just goes, oh, don't worry about this, son. It's naughty adult movies. And in that moment, like, I guess you could say the PTS I was talking about is that moment, because I hardly got to spend time with him. And in my head, I was making that mean, I'm not good enough. And what I made that mean about me was that I wasn't good enough for him. Right. So even there, that's a word track that I share with my clients. What happened? What did you make it mean? And what did you make it mean? All about yourself.
It's true. And we can do that as you sort of touched on at the start, right? Like any experience we've had in our life, we can make it mean something around whether I'm not worthy, I'm unloved, and various other things like that. And what did they mean to us? I think, I'm very similar in my own experiences, like rugby. Much yours was soccer, mine was rugby. It was like, that's how I thought I would get that love and attention and connection from my dad. But you don't realize it sort of takes you on a path, maybe pursuing something that I didn't love, or just to get that recognition and attention. And I think when I hear you talk about that, and I hear so many blokes talk about it, and I think, I never want to hold anger towards my dad or your granddad or anything like that, because they were doing the best that they could with the information that they had, right? And I think every generation is just trying to get that little bit better. And I think, we look at how we are, PJ, or like how so many blokes are, where we've just been craving that love and connection and acceptance from, both parents, or even just, let's talk about dads, that moving forward, we can either duplicate that and we can make our sons or daughters feel the same way, where they're just constantly craving our attention, or we can be better. And it's like, from your perspective, PJ, if you were your dad, well, you are a dad, right? But if you were your dad, what lessons did you take away from that? And we will segue back around, but what lessons did you take away from that you're now being really intentional with how you parent?
I've changed my intention around the language, not so much the when I say language, I'm just going to separate this for the audience because some when they hear what I was about to say, it might come across the wrong way. So I'm just going to reframe better. I've changed my behavior majority through my language so that my children understand more through explanation.
So can you give us an example? I guess if you give us the maybe the first thing you were going to say, yeah.
Yep. Okay. So I just want to share this one. You and I both know behavior is geared for adaptation. Our current level of highest choice of behavior is based on our current highest level of knowledge. So when I'm teaching with when I'm sharing with my kids, if they're doing something wrong, right? So what I learned is that my parents would say, "You're a naughty boy." What I've started to understand is that, like, I will separate the child from its behavior, and then I will explain why that's bad behavior. And sometimes it can sound so long-winded, but it's like, first of all, there's this element of surprise or shock value that I use with my kids. So it's kind of like, and I want everybody in the audience to understand, I've got my own method. Please don't take it personally. It's purely my own choices. I do it my way through my own experiences. You might have your own way of parenting. Take it on board if you wish. And in that moment, if I see my children doing something that I believe is poor behavior, I make a shock value. So I'm just like, hey, like I just get their attention. And then I come in towards them at their level. So I lower myself to their level. I wouldn't say I've never stood over my kids, because I have, and I've recognized that. But what I do is I make sure that I come down to their level so that I can then explain to them why it's bad behavior. If you do this type of bad behavior, this is the outcome that could happen. And if someone did it to you, how would you feel? So why are you choosing to do it to someone else? So from what I experienced, because when I was younger, it was just all about, that's naughty, you're a naughty boy, don't do that, right? Whereas now it's kind of like, I just use this, and this has come from a book that I read, or should I say, in Holland, they've got this technique called, well, I wouldn't say it's a technique. The Holland are known for, or I shouldn't say Hollandese. What's their thing? The Danes, the Danish.
Is it that?
Yeah, Dutch. Yeah, Dutch, Danes. They're known for being the happiest country in the world for like X amount of years. And they have this way of parenting, which is all about shock value. And then you come down to their level and you sort of say like, oh, that's ouchie. Oh, it's Bernie's, right? Like, so they're getting this shock value, because that's obviously how you get kids' attention. You have to change the pattern on what's going on. So you've got to shock them, right? That's what I believe through my study. So, and then I come down and I meet them at their level. And even if it's with firm eyes, I'm like, that's bad behavior. And I just make a real big point.
So rather than saying you're a naughty boy or you're a bad boy, like you really emphasize the fact that that's bad behavior. So you're separating it from, get that?
Yep. Bad behavior, bad language, rude behavior, rude language. So I add the other word to it. So if it's language, it's like rude language or bad language or hurtful language, dangerous language. Like I put explanation on it. Lockie, that's what I do.
Yep. How did you sort of first become aware of that? Like, I think, and are you like the king at it? Because it sounds like, I know the reason why I asked this, like I obviously don't have kids, but I know when I look after my nephew, I've always said to my sister, like, why do you give him an iPad? Like, I think that's lazy parenting to a degree. Once again, let me get the whole story here. And then I'm like, why do you bribe him with chocolates and all that sort of stuff? And then as I've looked after him more, the amount of energy he has, I'm just run ragged. I'm like, oh my goodness, man. Like, take your iPad for a moment. So I've started to sort of slowly understand, but Then there's also part of me that goes, I didn't grow up with that sort of stuff. So once again, this is coming from my beliefs and my experiences. So I was the only choice was to be creative, make up games, go outdoors, all that sort of stuff. And I think I turned out all right. And I see how some people are just glued to television screens or being rewarded for bad behavior. Like, oh, if I am obnoxious enough, then I might get an ice cream. So just so I piss off. So then when you think about, I guess, the contrast of the energy that goes into, in my opinion, and from my experience of parenting well and not just giving into the iPad and all those sorts of things, to then also the energy that goes into having a conversation where it's well thought out and you're creating the separation between action and individual. Do you get that right all the time, or is there moments in time where you're just like, I'm taking the lazy option today and you're a bad boy? Like, or have you conditioned yourself to be able to really just separate it from most points of conversation?
If there's a moment in my own pattern where I go, you're a bad boy, which would be years ago, even, man, it's so long ago. Yeah, I can't remember using it. Like, I have conditioned myself to really separate the behavior in that. If I ever did, I snapped back and answered it really quickly by saying, like, well, you're not the bad boy, but that's bad behavior. So like, I try and,
Yeah. Then because you've conditioned yourself then, right? Do you believe, and I'm not sure parenting styles, I'm not here to criticize because I think everyone can parent their own way, but going off what I was saying before, like for me, once again, I think, if you're getting to a point where you want to give your kid an iPad or some form of device to just, is that late? Like, do you believe you can get conditioned enough and you can get to a point, or maybe you need to just look at your own, where your energy is going in your life to go, right, or if I want to really be an engaged and present parent, and instead of dishing the kid off to the iPad, I want to have energy. Should I start looking at sleep, nutrition, where my energy is actually going so I can be a present parent? Like, is that looking at it holistically? I know this is off topic, but I'm curious about that now, because one thing that I don't have kids, but one thing that I really would love to do, but obviously experience may change that, is I want to have the conditioning go, look, I have chosen to be a parent, therefore I want to parent. And when it gets tough and when you think like about giving iPads and all that sort of stuff, that's when I really need to step up as a role model. So what are your thoughts on all that?
all right, you ready for this?
Hit me. Okay.
So this is for all the parents out there. As I said, my gospel is the book that I read from. What you choose to do is your book. It's totally A-okay with me. This is why one of my programs is called Exceptional Relationships, Exceptional Leadership, and Exceptional Results. Because I feel as in order to be exceptional or an exceptional leader or get those results, you must be exceptional within yourself. Now, your level of exceptional is up to you. My level of exceptional is exactly what you just said. If I choose to parent, I am going to make sure that I can be that best level of parent I can be for them. So if I catch myself tired, and this is all going to come down to your level of awareness. So my level of awareness, right, is if I catch myself a little bit tired, a little bit drained, that kind of thing, I just know within myself, I look at my timetable and I go, right, I'm picking up the boys from school. I have to be super mindful and present that I'm a little bit tired already. And I'm just going to pre-frame him up front. Hey, son, I'm feeling a little bit tired. What would you like to do? Because if there's something you'd like to do, I'd like to do it with you. In other words, I don't tell him I'm tired so he doesn't say, let's go for a bike ride. I'm telling him up front so that he knows how I feel, and it makes it a conversation about how do you feel. So when you have to be, when I say you, as in the man, the person, the thing, right, has to be on top of you for that to be outgoing. And you and I talk about this as far as love. You can only love another person based on how much you love yourself. So when you're parenting, it's like my level of parenting is going to be the level of how much I'm looking after myself. Because you can still reparent yourself based on your inner child.
And what sort of things do you then do to, I guess, love yourself and look after yourself? What are some things for you?
I
Like
definitely,
you're a busy dude. Like you
yeah,
got a lot of stuff going on, right?
yep,
And I don't, everyone's situation's relative, right? Oh, everyone's
yep.
situation's different. Sorry. But for you, you are a busy man. You run a business. You've got children. You've got a family. How do you make time for that?
I schedule the best day. And what I mean by that is I schedule what I want to do. So if I want to spend time with my kids, I then block out the time that's there. So even if they choose to like jump on their iPads, because my boys are 8 and 4 and 4 months. So if the oldest one wants to watch his iPad and YouTube and, Preston Smiles and have a laugh on YouTube, like I don't discipline that. Like that's no different to me than when we had books and PlayStation, or newspapers and books and CDs back in the day when we used to crack out our old double dual cassette player and sing and record right at the same time. Um, so
age.
so in those moments, like I book my day so that I say to myself, and I understand that there are parents out there that work 9 to 5. I get it, but this is why I choose to work my own stuff so that I can schedule my own day, so that I can get up when I want to get up. I can book the clients in when I want them. I can have lunch when and what time I want. I've got the next client. I've got the next client. I pick them up from school. I spend time with them. I schedule the day that it works for me. It's not punishment to me. It's scheduling a perfect day for me.
And I think, like there's risk versus reward there because, ultimately, you have more flexibility, and freedom around how you can schedule your day. But there are some definitely more challenges that come with running your own business, etc. Like if you don't make sales or perform well, you're not going to continue to grow your business. You're not going to be able to put food on the table. So I think
100%.
it's, for people, because I just know there's people who've tried to do what I've done, right? And I'm sure there's people who've tried to do what you do. And we're all trying to learn from each other. And, I like the idea of some people that I follow on social media. I'd love to be able to do that. But I think it's important for us to also talk about the shit that goes on with that, because there may be people who have the 9 to 5 at the moment. And there's days where I wish I was working 9 to 5. Like I'm just like, it would be so much easier. Yeah, you don't have the flexibility as much, but I think, things are changing with technology, but you just don't have to take a lot of stress home with you. Some days it's like so overwhelming, whereas, in a 9 to 5, it's just like rock up, do your job to the best of your ability, go home. Like that's pretty nice. That sounds fantastic. And then you might be able to schedule the time around that. So I think it's still possible for people, whether you're a business owner or not, to schedule a time. It's just, I think, to add on to what you were saying is, like for me, it's like put my non-negotiables in. So if, what hours are you at work? What do you have, driving? I think people always forget to put in commute time and they're like, I've just lost another hour. I don't know how. What popped up? I'm like, mate, did you drive to work today? Yeah, I did. Peak hour traffic? Yeah, I did. All right, well, there's a bit of time. How can you utilize that? Podcast or call friends or whatever. But then in that time situated around that, in those blank spots, how are you utilizing that? So like for you to get the most out of your time, like would be like the top 5 most important things or non-negotiables for you within a week?
Exercise.
Yeah.
Exercise.
People always put that on the back burner. It blows my mind. Like, you're a fit dude. When we first met, as we were talking about the other day, like we gravitated to each other because you're a rig and I was once a little bit bigger than I am now. But like we gravitated to each other because we really prioritize our health. And I really struggle to understand how people don't prioritize their health, because your health provides your energy, provides your focus, your perspective on life. It really just, if you feel shit, life's not very fun. If you feel good, strong and confident and energetic, life's amazing.
Yep.
But people go, no, I don't have time to exercise. For me, I'm like, well, cut some other shit out of your day, son. But back to you.
Yeah. No, I agree with you 100%. So exercise is a non-negotiable for me. and not only just exercise, right? Like challenging exercise. Like, and I've said this before between you and I only. I'm writing the book on Conquer the Uncomfortable.
Yep.
Now, that's pretty damn courageous to talk about discomfort in that way, to go, I've conquered what's uncomfortable, because clearly I haven't done everything that's in the world. I haven't been to war. I haven't done this. I haven't done this. I haven't done. There's so many things that I haven't done. But what I do understand about how to conquer the uncomfortable, it doesn't matter whether it's this much discomfort or fucking this much discomfort. There is a level of what you need to unearth. So it's exercise, and then challenging exercise.
Well, yeah, you're fucking bang on, because yes, my biggest thing would be anyone who's a runner, right? I see runners all the time. They've got no fucking glute muscles. They're still muscle atrophy. They got knee issues, but like they think they're fit, and they are run fit. But like,
yes,
my point of view in wanting how I think to live my life, and if you're a runner and you hated me, sorry, don't listen. But like, you need to have challenging workouts. Like, you need to challenge yourself physically to improve bone density. You know, blokes, when we get over 27 to sort of 30, we have muscle sarcopenia, which is muscle degeneration, right? So you want to work against that. You want to be stressing your muscle and forcing your muscle to grow. You're not going to get that by running every day or just going into the gym and texting and going, oh, a few little reps and then walk out and go, I've done it. Beautiful. Like, get in there and fucking sweat, challenge yourself, and build some grit and resilience. Like, I always talk to my clients about, yes, let's work out, you know, if you're a high performer, which is, I work with a lot of high performers or people wanting to be better, right? And they might lack sleep, or they might have stressful roles and a lot going on. So obviously you got to manage energy output, right?
Yep.
But there also has to come a time where it's like, in my opinion, fucking let's grit and bear it. And let's just see if we can push the threshold that little bit more. How you respond to that, you might need a recovery day. You might need a sleep in. That's fine. But if you keep living to the point where it's like, oh, I think if I do this, it might push me too hard. How do you know? I can push that threshold. So I think that's an awesome point about exercise and fucking hectic exercise.
Yeah, challenging exercise. E.g. example, 20-kilometer runs with a 10-kilo vest that I've never done before. Just throw that in there. So water and healthy eating. And I have this saying, if you can't grow it, you can't eat it. So there's two parts that I want to understand about this: water and healthy eating, or nutritious food.
How do you grow water?
Well, it's natural.
Yes.
It's natural. If you can't grow it, you can't eat it, but it's natural, right? So when I say that, so next is food, but then I also say this: at least 1 to 3 times, or 3 or 4 times a week, allow yourself to eat your favorite fucking dish, so that becomes the reward too. Because you're going to get rewards from this goddamn sucker right here. You're going to get rewards from water. You're going to get rewards from nutritious eating. Like, your mental clarity is going to get better. You can try, and if you're listening in the audience and you're just like, oh, really? It's just like, dude, I'm telling you, you find me anyone and I'll go word to word with them. But you're going to mentally feel clearer. You're going to make better decisions. And then the fact that it's like, oh, hang on, like, I really want a cheat meal. It's like, stop calling it that. Just go and eat your favorite fucking thing. If you and I went to the pub, I'm telling you now, we're either having tomahawks or we're having barbecue ribs. I know it for a fact, right? We're not going to sit there and get a salad in that moment, because we're hanging out with mates and we're going to eat what we really enjoy, because that's going to create endorphins in a different way.
Do you schedule, like with the non-negotiables, do you schedule time to eat in? Or do you just fit it in whenever, sort of thing?
So obviously, because of the way I schedule my day already, there's already dedicated time slots for food, and But so I'm really that typical 3 times a day.
Yeah, no, I was just curious, because I know for myself, if I don't schedule it in, I won't eat. I'll get to 4 p.m. in the arvo.
Oh, fully?
Yeah, man, I will just work, or I'll.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Like, if I got downtime, I'm like, right, it's time to read, or it's time to go for a skate, or I just don't stop until the afternoon when I hit a bit of an energy low, and I'm like, have I eaten today?
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so for me, I have to be really really intentional with scheduling out time to eat, or it just doesn't happen.
I'll make sure to text you from now on at lunchtime.
Yeah. What are you eating, man?
Okay, so there's two, right? So food and exercise. Cold showers or ice baths or both. So this is now talking about biohacking. Now, you can have your own opinion on biohacking. If you're listening in the audience, like you've got your own opinion. My opinion is this: I am purposefully stressing my body so that it can be placed in situations that are uncomfortable on purpose. That's just my simple answer. You want to get into the biohacking side of it, read Wim Hof, like go for your life. But I just simply, I get up every single morning and I step into my shower, even if my eyes are still half shut, and I just whip on the cold water, stand there, cop it sweet, and just be like, "Ugh," and then just it's over in 10 seconds, and I stand there for like a minute.
Do you because we've been having a bit of a cold snap. So normally I'll jump in and turn it straight on cold, but now I've been a bit kind to myself and I'll jump in and I'll just turn it on warm, and I'll sit there and I always put my hands in the corner just to stretch my chest and sort of lean forward. And then I'm like, righto, I'm feeling pretty comfortable here now. And I'll whip the hot off and it just goes cold. But I've really just been like, come on, just be kind to yourself first, man. Just warm first, cold. And then I still get that shock and, everything puckers up a bit. I'm like, whoa. Rather than just jumping straight in, I'm like, come on, man, just enjoy a quick stretch.
Okay. So for me, it's just cold. And even if like middle of winter here when it was like -4. See, the thing is the temperature, the cold water here in Goulburn, I've tempted, right? So it's about between 8 and 10 degrees, even midwinter, cold water. But the temperature outside is like 4 or -0, like in midwinter. So the water coming out of the cold tap's actually warmer than the atmosphere.
So it's nice.
So when I get in the cold shower, it's like not actually as cold as walking around nude in the kitchen. When I walk through and I turn it on and it's freezing cold, like it's still a shock.
Let's hope there's never any burglars bloody in your kitchen in the morning if you're walking around nude.
They won't see much.
Why? Because it's cold, yeah?
It's just cold. Yeah. It's protected. That's what it does. So cold water and ice baths. Like I do it purposefully. And I think we joked about it last time. Like I did the ice bath live purposefully, like to show people that it's like I was focusing on the camera. So I couldn't care less that my body was going numb. Like it didn't worry me because it wasn't until I turned off the camera that I was like, oh, that's cold. Like, but that's what we studied, right? We understand where focus goes, energy flows. So that's number 3, cold water and cold baths. Non-negotiable number 4, reading. Reading or any audible around self-help. Just continuous hearing, like right now, ringing through my ears right now is like E.T. Preacher, right? Get up, motherfucker. Like I could just like Goggins or Jocko Willink or, the Man That Can Project podcast, just like listening to positive learning conversations, just ringing that through your head. Because I mean, at the end of the day, you get to choose, right?
Yeah.
You get to choose what you pump into your head. You get to choose. And I don't care what you say in the audience right now. You truly do. You've got your own opinion, great, but you truly do get to choose what you pump into your mind. If you want to turn the news on, you turn the news on, right? And if the news triggers something inside you, that's your problem, not the news's problem, right? So you get to choose. Number 5, my non-negotiable, self-care, meditation. Meditation.
What do you like about meditation? I was having a conversation with a guy I was doing a consult with yesterday, and he's runs a big business, and he just loves going ham. Like obviously, as we all do as business owners, it's fun. But like for you, what is it that you love about meditation, and what does it give you? Like especially when you're a high achiever as well, why would you fucking slow down deliberately? Doesn't make sense.
Okay, so one of the things that I really learned, and this was from, you remember Monza? You remember Mons? So Mons
Nodding
taught
for
me.
those. I was just realizing I was nodding, but everyone on the podcast would have been like, "Is he alive?"
Yeah. Do you remember Mons?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I do. Yeah. So Mons taught me, I paid for one of her programs to learn level 2 channeling.
Yep.
So prior to that, I meditated because I thought if I slow my breathing down, if I slow, because obviously you and I, we both train, so understanding breathing patterns is so important. So I wanted to learn how to meditate more. So I taught myself by listening to podcasts, listening to other people, blah, 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 reading some books. And I'm just like, okay, I get it. Right. So I started to meditate. And then I started to just get these like visions and words that were tripping me out. I'm just like, why do I feel like I'm literally floating in the middle of the Aztec right now? Or like, you know, that thing in the bottom of the sea, Atlantica, like the one that fucking is buried. Like I started to like literally like I was there and I was just like, is that what I'm supposed to be thinking of? So I reached out to Mons. I'm like, Mons, I've got some kind of extraterrestrial shit going on in my mind. Can you help me? She's like, do this program. I'm like, righto. Anyway, what I learned was that the more that you free your mind, the more you allow the sensations, or I should say this, the vibrations of your aura to be clear. Now,
There's going to be a lot of dudes listening to this. They're like, what the fuck did you just say?
Okay, right. When you meditate, you slow down your breathing, which slows down your brainwave state. When it slows down your brainwave state, you can make clearer decisions and your head becomes more empty. Now, I'm going to relate this to the words that one of my clients used. I drink to make my mind empty. And I'm like, I can teach you how to meditate so that you can have an empty thought process, right?
Residual
Without
alcohol.
Right. So what I want the audience to understand, especially because like you've got basically like it's a male dominated audience, whatever you do to escape the kids, the wife, work, all your thoughts, like whatever you do, you can replace that with meditation. Like whatever you try and escape from, whatever you do, whatever action it is, whatever behavior you go and do, even if it's bike riding, and I don't want to take away that stuff. But like, especially if it's smoking, drugs, alcohol, gambling, sex, porn, like whatever that addiction or that pattern, whatever that pattern is for you to try and get that empty mind, you can actually replace it with meditation when you're taught how to.
Why do you think people do turn to those other things like drugs, alcohol, porn, or gambling, like as a way to escape?
Okay, so
rather than just going to meditation or going for a walk or anything like that.
Okay, how long have we got for this one?
Oh,
okay, amazing question. Amazing question. So first of all, we're either running away from pain or towards pleasure. At one point in our life, when something happened that was painful or had a painful connotation to it, or the emotion that happened from whatever event, the pain was so painful that you wanted to run away from it. And when you ran away from it, you chose something. So you either started smoking, or you started watching something like I did, or you even if you started reading, like you could have an addiction to reading because reading was running away from whatever was painful. Or you run towards pleasure. So it just could have been a night out with the boys and you were 14 and you had no idea what was going on, but someone said, boy, try this weed, right? And then all of a sudden you had your first cone and it made you feel so good, so emotionally fucking amazing that you said to your mates the next day, you're just like, boy, let's just go and smoke another cone. And they're like, you're fucking weird. Like, no, but it felt so good. And then, so you're either running from pain or you're running towards pleasure. And during that first emotional moment, once again, the first emotional moment caused so much emotional change that you chose something because you said, that's going to give me so much more than that did. And I'm just going to keep doing it.
What's, when you talk about that like pain, pleasure, and thanks for explaining that. The pain, pleasure principle. Like, how do you get people to really understand that and implement and act upon it? Because I know there's people, you know, who might be experience pain when they walk past the mirror and they see their body, right? It's like, I'm not happy with that. I look sloppy. I feel sloppy. And it
Yep.
makes them not feel, to me, that would be like a pain, right?
Yep.
And then they're like, right, I'm going to really start getting into shape, that it's time to make a change. And then in the short term, they put their clothes on, they walk outside, and there's a nice fucking fatty bagel on the counter.
Yep.
And they go, oh, I said I'll start tomorrow. Let's give into that short-term
Yep.
pleasure. Like, how, for someone who goes through stuff like that, or even if it's in any other situation, like, how can
Yep.
we get people to understand the pain pleasure principle and implement it in their own life so that they don't have to keep fucking up their long-term results for these
Yep.
short-term gains?
Okay, this is going to be really easy, and it might shock the audience, but this is exactly why I teach what I teach. If you're not aware to what it's costing you, you're just being arrogant towards yourself.
You say that again?
If you're not aware
Yeah.
of what it's costing you and a happy life, so it's costing you a happy life.
So the decision that you're making is costing you a happy life, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you continue to eat a goddamn bagel, and I'm going to get passionate about this one, right? Because your question, like, I love the answer to this question. It's like, if you're not aware of the shit decision that you're making is continuously creating a shit life for you, you clearly don't want it bad enough. So if that's the decision you're going to choose to make, that's the one that you're committed to. If that's the one you're committed to, there are the results you're going to get. I can tell you what the next 5 to 10 years are going to look like. Can you see what the next 5 to 10 years are going to look like? And if you can't see that, you're just being arrogant and ignorant to yourself, and you're basically lying to yourself when you look in the mirror.
Because surely you'd have to assume that people would, you know, when you fuck up or you're not getting results, surely you'd have to start questioning, or do you just look to blame other people? Surely you'd have to, like, even for myself, when I was at my worst, I still started to ask questions, but sometimes I just avoid the answer because it was scary.
It's like, I'm going to read you something, right? I'm going to read you something.
Read it to me.
I'm going to read you something. And this is purely, these are the questions that I ask high performance individuals. Unearth the decisions that you must make to break free from what's holding you back. Unearth the truth behind the lies you've been telling yourself. Unearth the paradigm and the narratives that are holding you back from being your authentic self. Unearth and celebrate what you really want to create when you think about your imaginative life. Unearth what's beneath the facade that's too painful to discuss. Now, those questions, it doesn't matter if you ask a mother that, or you ask a high-performing leader, or a father, or a high-performing woman, in what doesn't matter, right? When they're faced with that type of question, unearth the facade that's beneath the shit. Like, they sit there and quiver, because all of a sudden you've got to face you. You don't have to face me. Couldn't care less. But when you've got to face yourself in the mirror, and you really have to find out, oh my God, I better become aware to what this is really costing me. By me not taking this action right now, what is it costing me?
Yeah, it's like, if you, and we spoke about it before, like, there's a residual effect from drinking alcohol, from taking drugs, from watching porn. Like, you might lose love and connection within your relationship and view, you know, intimacy in a certain way. The residual effect of alcohol, you know, for myself, I used to utilize it as like a social lubricant, but what I was taking away from myself was the ability to actually engage and interact and have fun without it. Like, I became dependent upon that, and I tolerated that to a degree. Is like, well, I can't have fun without it. People, you know, I'm the life of the party. People expect me to be this way, and that's just me tolerating some bullshit belief, rather than going, right, well, it's going to be uncomfortable. Anything that is new that I'm currently trying to avoid is going to be uncomfortable. There's going to be friction, right? It has to be friction.
You said
How
this.
committed am I to pushing through the friction, to pushing through the discomfort until it becomes comfort?
You know, what you just said, I sum up in 4 words.
Oh, I wish I could have summed it up in 4 words. Hit me.
No, I like what you said, but it just reminded me, maybe it's 5 words. what becomes acceptable becomes inevitable.
Oh yeah.
Mm. So if you accept it, well, it's inevitable. That's how it's going to be.
It's funny. I was with a client before, and I have a few clients that are in real estate and lawyers, and a lot of them love the boozy lunches. And sort of what you were saying, like what becomes acceptable becomes inevitable. And it's like, well, the boozy lunches, I need that to close a deal or do this. I'm like, but do you really? Or is that just a something that has become acceptable to you? Because I wouldn't accept. I don't do business deals over fucking lunch. No chance. Like, and I think there are definitely people out there. Like, I would imagine the CEO of whatever big real estate company wouldn't be going out for boozy lunches. He's got more important shit to be doing. Like, you do your business and you carry on. Like for me, for how I live my life and how I run my business, why would I want to get pissed up with someone that, you know, isn't as important as my family so that I can go home on a Friday afternoon drunk and I have to go to bed and I'm useless? Why the fuck would I do that? And it disappoints me when I hear people, obviously, you know, it doesn't affect me, but it disappoints me because all of us have unlimited, and, you know, you talk about this unleash your beast or unleash your potential. We all have so much potential, but we've accepted and we tolerate too much shit.
Yep.
It causes this negative ripple effect in our life, which we once again don't take ownership for, or we try to just go, nah, it's not the boozy lunches. That has to be there. Like, well, how about it?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be there, bro.
No.
Your relationship won't be there if you keep that shit up, or your business won't eventually be there if you keep that shit up.
Exactly. Yeah, but this is that word there, tolerate. What are you currently tolerating? Unearth what you currently I could make one up on the spot, right? Unearth what you currently tolerate and shift it so that it exponentially transcends you into a better direction. Like, seriously, in this moment, like, how many people would have heard that in the audience and just gone, oh yeah, but you don't know me? It's like, oh yeah, I do. Like, your actions actually prove to me who you are.
Exactly. Yeah. It's yeah. And once again, bring it back to the health, the finances, all that sort of stuff. And you said it before. I can't remember the exact word, but it's like what success means to you is different to me, and we need to, I guess, get clear on that. So what health looks like to me is different to, you know, you and someone else. But like, I think we all need to have an expectation around how our health is, what level we keep our finances to, how our relationships going. Because if we become sloppy and lazy, then it's like, don't think you're going to get through life with some real fucking challenging moments coming through. Like, you're going to have challenges anyway, but I would much rather have challenges that I'm choosing rather than challenges that pop up because I've neglected my health, I've neglected my relationship, or I've neglected my finances, which is what most people get stung with, right? And you look at the reasons why men take their life by suicide. Some of the higher reasons is relationship breakdowns, custody battles, financial issues, unemployment, right? So if we know this, it's like, well, how about we fucking get on it and don't play the short game. Don't try and make $1 million overnight, or don't try and build a perfect relationship with one question or bringing home flowers for the first time. It takes consistent effort over a sustained period of time and that compound effect is what makes it stronger and stronger. And that's what a lot of us neglect. We hit that rock bottom point or that pain point and we go, right, it's time to change. And if it doesn't happen in a week, it's not working for me.
Yeah.
Or I'll avoid the hard work and I'll go back to my pornography. I'll go back to my alcohol, my gambling, or whatever it is. It doesn't fucking work. What do you think are some of the, like, for anyone listening who is in that all or nothing mindset, like, what would be some things that they could take away? And there would be a heap that you've already shared, but like, if you could give 2 to 3 simple action steps that they could take away right now to start thinking about why they have that all or nothing mindset and how they can actually then start utilizing. Obviously, the all or nothing the all is good, right? Like the work ethic and the drive can be good.
Yep.
But the sacrificing everything else to do that, in my opinion, is dumb.
Yep. I'm going to relate this back to even superheroes just to make it really simple.
I like superheroes.
All superheroes are not the superhero 24/7. Superman is Clark Kent. Batman is Bruce Wayne. What's his name? The Hulk.
Candace Lockie Stewart. Oh, sorry, thought you were going somewhere with that one.
Yeah. Lockie Stewart is like the man that can, like, right? Pjero Mardesic is fucking addicted to great. Like, the Hulk is only the Hulk when he gets angry. Like, you're not. If you think that you're all, I'd like to spend the day with you, and then I'll see if you're all. That's my response. Like, I challenge myself to see you're all. Then, like, come and show me, because I guarantee you, if you turn around and you've got the courage to say I'm all or nothing, I'd really like to see you're all. Because if I find a moment where you're not being all, I'm just going to go, well, that wasn't all. Oh, really? Oh, the pub lunch, is that like all, is it? Oh, okay. So you had footy training, right? And you skipped 15 minutes at the start because you were running late because you stopped in and you had a bagel on the way. Oh, is that all, is it? Like, I just want to be real. You're not all. Like, this all or nothing mentality, you're not all. You're either giving it a fair commitment and then you accept that you're not all or nothing, or you're actually nothing. You just don't want to admit it.
That hurts. It's confrontational. I think why a lot of people avoid that is because sometimes self-reflection isn't pretty. But I would much rather. One of the best things I ever did was honestly look at who I was and how I was behaving. And it was so uncomfortable at the time. And there was a lot of things that I was like, oh, that's disgusting behavior. But like, the moment that I accepted it, worked through it and spoke about it, like, it's been the most freeing experience ever. And the moment that you accept it, it's like, righto, I'm now prepared to build the foundations. Like, if you keep avoiding it, you've got no foundations. It's like running through sand nonstop.
Yep.
You can create momentum, but it's not very stable. And then it generally, comes, you hit the soft sand. But I think for all of us, it's just coming back to having a good hard look at ourselves in the mirror, as uncomfortable as that it can be. And like, if it is too confronting for you, this is the reason why PJ or Pjero and I do what we do, is because sometimes, and I have support, you have support. I know that we've both had the same coach before. That's how we got introduced. But it's like, sometimes if it's too challenging or too confronting for you, put your hand up for help. And it mightn't be us. It mightn't be any coach, but it might be a mate, or it might be a book or a podcast. Right? There's so many things there that can be there to sort of walk side by side with you when you need that. But I guarantee you, if you don't start there, you're fucking not going to go anywhere. Like, nothing's going to change. Right, I've got 5 rapid fire questions for you, because this chat's been so fun.
Go on.
It's been very, very interesting for me as well. And I definitely want to have you on in about another 6 months, because I'll have more questions.
Cool.
Definitely will have more questions, actually. But first one, what are you curious about right now? What?
Wow. Okay, rapid fire question. The first thing that came to my mind was like relationships. Was the first thing, that was the first word that popped up to my mind.
Why?
What am I curious about now? Relationships.
Why? Like, in regards to what? In what context?
I don't know. Like, obviously for me, like, I'm not sure even if we've delved into this, but like, my partner and I are separated. So I don't know. Maybe that was just on my mind, or maybe it's like new relationships, but as soon as you said, what am I curious about right now? I guess I'm curious about even like what, like dating at 39. Like, what's that going to be all about now?
How long have you guys been separated for?
Nearly 8 months.
Yep. A few of my clients are going through separations and stuff, and like seeing them navigate back through that. And, some are over 40, some are like mid 30s. And it's like a interesting time for them, because they've been like, I don't want to date just yet. I'm trying to do this. But then they're like, oh, I'm actually kind of curious about dating and what it's all about now. And it's interesting to have those discussions with them. And it'll be an interesting journey for you as well.
Well, this is, I think, why it came up on my mind. Because I think it's like, I'm totally curious, like, to spend time that, because obviously now that I've evolved my level of thinking to where I was 10 years ago when we met. Like, I'm a different person and we were going in different directions. We've still got a healthy, amicable friendship. So like when I think about, can you imagine having a conversation with someone that can articulate this kind of thing and enjoy it? It's like, what's the level of sapiophile that's going to come from that? And those of those that understand that, what that word means, I mean, that's just another level of conversation.
Yeah. Well, it's good having that level of self-awareness to go after it. Second one, what are you currently reading, or what book are you currently reading? Just walking around the house. Stephen Hawking, brief answers to the big questions. How is it?
Really like eye-opening, because obviously he's answering questions to things like, who is God?
Oh,
And
I
he's
would love to read that.
And his answer is kind of like his answer is like, as it says, brief answers. And I'm just like, wow. And Stephen Hawking, obviously, this dude is like, it's just a short book of his, but it's so interesting to hear his level of thinking. And I think that's because I like to raise my level of thinking. But yeah, it's hectic. Like, who is God? How did the world be created? And I was just like,
fucking hell.
What is the brief answer to that?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Like, have you ever read Sam Harris's Making Sense?
No, but now that you've said that, I'm going to put it on Audible straight up.
I've purchased it. I've got, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's fifth in line for what I'm reading now. Like, I always just go through and buy books for which order I want to read them. But it's the fifth book in line. But I'm really looking, like, I think it might be on that same level with, you know, how Sam Harris operates. I'm looking forward to that one. Next one, favorite training exercise. These haven't really been rapid fire, have they?
Murph.
And for those who don't know what Murph is, what's Murph? Because it's brutal.
1.6 kilometer run, 100 chin-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 squats, 1.6 kilometer run afterwards in a 10-kilo weight vest.
Absolutely brutal. And you can break that up, right? Like the runs you do, but you can break the, like you could do 10, 20, 30, 10 rounds and stuff like that. People do that. But yeah. It's
I do it in fives. And break it down like again. So I'll go run, come back, 5 sets of 5, 10, 15, run, come back. So I'll do that 4 times.
Gotcha.
So it actually makes it like, it just makes it like a little less, it's just got a different burn. Just a different burn.
Break it up however, really. It's just, if you're doing it in competition, there's probably a strict criteria.
Oh, there is. There's the 1.6 all at once, and then there's the 100. You got to do 100 chins, and but then there's also the guys that do the 100 chins like this, right? And I'm like, the chins have got to go like this, mate. The chins have got to be proper.
100%. What's your go-to order at your favorite hometown restaurant?
Ribs.
Oh, love ribs.
Same. Fucking love ribs.
And final one, what's your definition of being a man?
Owning up to your bullshit. Owning all your truth.
Yep.
That's the definition. Like, I want the audience to understand what I'm about to say in pure respect for my wife, my ex-wife. I left her at 34 weeks pregnant because our relationship was toxic. And I purely did that out of respect, because if I stayed there any longer, it would have been a worse environment than what it is now. I owned it. I spoke to her. We separated healthily. We still talk, and I'm there as often as I can to support her and my children. But I want every man squirming in their seat to understand what I did out of pure respect for our relationship moving forward.
That's fucking powerful, man, because it's, a lot of people stay in relationships purely for they try to avoid what's really there, or, you know, they can make a million different scenarios play out in their head, but that's the reality of it. But I appreciate that. But bro, where can people find you if people want to listen to your potty, if people want to reach out to you about coaching or anything, or just even have a chin wag? Where can people find you?
Well, if you want a chin wag, honestly, just get me on 0434528638. You can find me at addictedtogrow.com, Mardesic.com. Find me on LinkedIn under both names. You can find me on Facebook under both names, Instagram under Addicted to Grow. Clubhouse. I love running Clubhouse rooms. So those of you that understand what Clubhouse is, or it's a drop-in audio, I love hosting Clubhouse rooms, because then you get access to this and you can just spitfire conversation. Where else? You can find me on TikTok. You can find me on Twitter.
Everywhere.
I'm fucking everywhere, man. I've got a virtual assistant that does all that kind of stuff. You can find the podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, but it's across all channels. And I tell you what, like the moment that I can fly, you'll find me next to Lockie one morning doing a Saturday morning training session in the bath then next to him.
Oh yeah.
I'll tell you that right now. We need to make that happen.
Yeah, when all this COVID pisses off. But mate, thank you so much for your time. It's been awesome, and we'll definitely be making this happen again soon.
Thanks, bro. Really appreciate